still unbeaten at home since returning to play. Your thoughts on tonight's performance?
Yeah, very, very pleased that obviously we're unbeaten. The way I saw it, we were certainly the brighter and more positive in the first 30 minutes of the game, and probably looking back on it, missed our opportunity to win it right there. They came out with certainly a different attitude and made the game very, very difficult in the second period. And I thought we're certainly the better team in the second half. And, they'll probably be disappointed that they didn't take all 3 points based on the way they played in the second period. But yet again, with no recognised forward on the field for the majority of the game, and a very, very quick turnaround, of course, I couldn't be more proud of the way the guys have gone about their business. Of course, disappointed that we haven't won at home, but still pleased to be unbeaten.
Perfect. We will now open the floor for questions, and we will begin with a question from Tim Sullivan with For Club and Country.
Gary, we've talked to you after a bad draw and a good draw over the course of the past 2 weeks. Which category does this one fall into?
I would say that this is an acceptable draw, Tim. Yes, they're struggling as well for bodies, but let's put this in context. This Minnesota group in their own expansion year, had some difficulties. And have taken, a good while to get to the position they're in. And the position they're in is a very, very strong one. They've got a very good group of senior players on their roster. When you look around their group, you're looking at individuals that have got real experience, and they're, the majority of them are battle-hardened at this level. And what you saw in the second half was a group that understood how they were going to, go from being a team that were going to get something out of the game to a team that wanted to get everything out of the game. And that, again, I think smacks of high caliber individuals. So I'm very pleased with the point. I'm always pleased to add to the tally. When you look at the standings as we sit right now, that was our game in hand. And we're in 8th place. So anything that goes on tomorrow is, a game in hand for us again. We're in a decent spot. Of course, we would love to have won the game, but I'm pleased again to make sure we keep our goal intact and add to the board.
We have 2 questions now from the Tennessean. We'll begin with a question from Gentry Estes, and then we'll follow up with a question from Drake Hills.
Yeah, hey, Gary. First, I just wanted to ask real quick, was Hani available to be selected tonight?
Hani was rotated, due to the schedule that we have. So the answer to your question is, yes, he was. But, my decision to try and give Hani a longer opportunity to recover and to be ready for us at the weekend in a brighter and more purposeful place, was what you saw.
And with Yonder Cadiz, as you go here, is that a sooner or later kind of situation when you might have him available? And also, does the situation make that a little more urgent given your need up front?
Yeah, of course. The need up front is one that we all see. I mean, from my position to all of the fans looking in on it, it's a difficulty that we have at the moment with injuries, and of course with Yonder dealing with his quarantine and being ready to compete at a sensible level. Yonder's not played since, I think it's March. He's had 6 months of certainly matching activity. He's going through his paces at the moment. He's working hard, and we'd love to try and fast track him into the group and be ready for us as soon as possible. But that could be said about Dominic Badgie, Daniel Rios, David Akam, and of course the real positive tonight is to see Abu Danladi on the field for 20 minutes and come off in good shape, and that gives us a little bit of a lift. as we work towards the Kansas game at the weekend. But look, I think just about everyone can see some of the troubles that we've run into with injuries and the lack of firepower, if that's the way of putting it, up front. But I've got to say, the guys that have filled those boots have done it with incredible determination. That, the guys that you're looking at in Derek Jones, Alex Mule tonight, and of course, Randall, of course. I lost me trying to thought for a minute. Those guys have given it everything they possibly can, and it's not easy. They're square pegs in round holes, but I think they're getting a decent job done, good enough to have won the game in the first half as we know it. It was a 0-0, and if we'd have scored, we would have won it, but it wasn't to be.
Drake.
Obviously, Gary, the fans were very, very noticeable. The chants, the Ric Flair chants, the claps, the encouragement. It seems, especially as you mentioned in that first half an hour, the players were very confident in their passing. They lost the ball. They were immediately sprinting back to go get the ball. That was probably the quickest I've seen in some spurts, Nashville winning the ball back after giving the ball away. How much control do you think that Nashville had, especially in the first half, but really the entire half, with the assistance of how the fans kind of gave them that extra edge?
Well, first of all, it was fantastic to see such a crowd in the arena again. I think everyone's looking forward to, getting back to normality at whatever point that is. But to see people in the seats and getting behind the team was a real lift for everyone. The first period of the game, and when I say first period, the first 45 minutes, was without a shadow of a doubt our best period of time. Whether the guys were, lifted by the fans, whether they were, incentivized because they're back at home again and they've been confident in this stadium, or whether it was just the fact that, Minnesota had been on a long flight and we were trying to, get ourselves off on the right footing. I think maybe a combination of all three, but the opening 30 minutes was played at a real good pace. And there were some terrific passages of play from us, some terrific passages of play. The one thing we're missing is, serious penetration and a spearhead up front. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that at the moment. We can only play to our potential, and the guys did in the first half. We missed our window of opportunity, and they showed some other qualities in the second half when they came under some pressure. They terrific courage and determination to get a point out of the game, because I've certainly seen teams wilt under the sort of pressure that Minnesota can, put us upon.
We'll go on with a question from Ben Wright with Broadway Sports.
Hi, Gary. In the past, we've talked a little bit about just how maybe the lack of finishing hasn't been the overarching issue, but more the lack of creating real goal-scoring chances. How do you feel like that was improved tonight with some really clear-cut scoring chances? And is that encouraging, knowing that you'll have hopefully strikers healthy in the near future to be able to convert some of those?
Well, I think there's a two-part answer to that question, Ben. If you look at the majority of our games prior to the injuries up front, creating chances wasn't an issue for us. It's the execution of those chances that has let us down fundamentally. At the weekend, we entered into a fixture with 0 forwards available, change shape, went to a difficult environment against a good team. And I thought we showed a lot of courage, a lot of endeavour, and some incredible determination to get away with a point. The challenge tonight was back at home to maybe control our destiny a little bit more, if you like, with the ball. We certainly didn't and weren't able to achieve that in New England or in Boston. tonight, I felt there was a completely different picture. The players played with a lot of confidence. They looked bright and purposeful. And unfortunately, that execution again wasn't where we needed it to be. But you could say the same obviously for Minnesota. They had one or two good moments late on, or certainly in the second period. Look, it's been an Achilles heel of ours for the season so far, and we'll keep working hard to try and correct that. But in the process of a team evolving and obviously getting stronger, we have to have some foundation, and that foundation is a strong core of individuals who take a lot of pride in keeping their goal intact.
Phil West with MLSsoccer.com.
Yeah, just wanted to ask you a little bit about the defensive fortitude that the team displayed throughout the game. Particularly, there was the moment in the 39th minute, I believe, where Lovitz had the tackle on Molino that may have saved a goal.
I think it's just reinforcing what I've said. You've got guys, that back line and Joe Willis. Joe, man of the match at the weekend, is an outstanding performance. But I think we're seeing not just a back line, but a group of individuals that, take a lot of pride in keeping a clean sheet. And it's a quality in the modern game that I'm not sure you see too readily. Listen, I want to make this clear. We do not spend every minute of our time midweek working on how we keep our goal intact. We certainly work on our defensive attributes and maintaining high standards. But there's an awful lot of work that goes into our management of the ball, our appreciation with the ball, and of course, creating goal-scoring opportunities. What I will say is the most expensive players in the world are people that can put the ball in the back of the net. It's the most difficult thing to do in the game. And that's why they're so expensive. At the moment, we're struggling when it comes to that defining moment of being clinical. The rest of it, we're seeing, some wonderful performances and attributes.
We have a question from Josue Lopez with Area Sports Network.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Gary. I would like to know an update on Daniel Rios' injury, and what are the things you're missing from his absence?
Well, Daniel, before his injury, had, in a side that, as we've spoken about here, struggled to score goals, as I was put himself in a great position, 2-2, 2 games, was looking confident. And for forwards, I think we could all agree that if they're finding a way through to hitting the back of the net, it gives them a huge boost and a big confidence lift. And lots of forwards base their game on that. Daniel was in that spot. Unfortunately, he suffered a minor injury, as we could, describe it. And my hope is that Daniel will be back with us in training in the next week or so. It's not a serious injury, fortunately. We do have to monitor it, obviously, ongoing. But my hope is that, Daniel will certainly be available for selection in the coming week or so. And it will be a big lift for everyone.
All right, we have time for one final question from John Peña. John?
Yeah, good night. It's the second time I saw Christian Nazari in the bench. He was in New England game, and I saw him today. I had this question. It's not special for me. It's for the media for South America, Colombia. Why he not play often? Why he not play too many in this game when this team?
I think that's a really, really easy answer, John. This is one of the best defensive groups in the league at the moment. Not just for an expansion team. I think I think there was a fact up on the Jumbotron before the game started that we equaled Seattle's record of goals conceded in MLS history in the first 14 games. Listen, Miguel's a terrific kid. He works tremendously hard. He's a good professional. But, you know, you're talking about two of the best central defenders in MLS at the moment. And he'll continue to work hard and wait for his opportunity. But that's as simple as it gets.
Abu, how did it feel to be back on the field?
Well, it's definitely great. You know, I feel like, you know, I've said a little bit and, you know, we missing a lot of forwards. So it was very, very important that, you know, be there to be an option, you know, and just make sure to help the team as much as we can. And, you know, that's why I'm here for, you know, trying to help the team and the team needs me and whatever the coach needs me to do, you know. And it's a very hard point. You know. I'm really happy to be back. Yeah.
Congrats, Alistair, undefeated at home since August 12th. Another shout out for you all in the defense. How did it feel today?
It felt good again. I mean, our back line, I'm sure we gave up a couple chances, but I think we felt pretty good again with Joe back there, as we've talked about before. I mean, the reason why he was on the MLS team of the week, he's been super steady for us back there, and again, made a couple big saves when we needed it. And at the end of the day, as a back line, our first priority is to keep a clean sheet. So we can't really complain too much about that. And I think it was important for myself and Dan Lovitz to get up and down the flanks and try and get some more offensive service, because that's something that we were kind of lacking, I think. And with that formation that we were playing, it was something that we were focusing on, was getting up and down as fullbacks and getting some service in. So I thought we did a decent job of that. And unfortunately, we just couldn't grab anything more than a point. But again, keeping an unbeaten streak at home keeps that momentum going, and it's something to build on for sure.
Thank you, Alistair. We will now open in the floor for questions, and we will begin with one from Dre Hills with the Tennessean for you, Abu.
Yeah, Abu, welcome back. Of course, I'm sure it's nothing like being able to get back onto the pitch. But I saw, you know, even starting on the bench, you know, Kevin Molino coming out and showing you a little bit of love, kind of welcoming you back up against your old team. What was it like to finally get back and obviously go up against your old team, and, you know, the feeling of probably a little bit of familiarity, but also wanting to get the draw or at least the win?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, you know, just getting back, it's like the most important that was getting back, and also getting back and playing against my old team is very, you know, it was more like having a point to prove, you know. Also, it was good to see all the guys, and as you said, you mentioned Kevin Molino, and I've been, when the team came to the MLS, I was with him, and he was like an older brother to me. He gave me, like, he's helped me so much with, like, guiding me and stuff and giving me advice and stuff. So it was very, very good to see him, more like a good role model and stuff. So very, very good. But, you know, I really wish we could have won this game. And, you know, it's always good to be your old club, and that was what I was looking forward to. But unfortunately, we couldn't. And 1 point, I mean, if you can't get anything, 1 point is good enough, I think. So.
Tim Sullivan with For Club and Country with a question for you, Alistair.
Alistair, especially early in the game, it seemed like you guys were finding a lot of success up that right side. Did you guys go into the game plan knowing they were going to be without their left back and that you would have some combination opportunities up that side?
I mean, it was something that was discussed. We realized that Chase Gasper was going to be out, but it wasn't something that really changed our game plan at all. I mean, we knew that we were going to be a pretty narrow formation in terms of our lineup that we were putting out, injuries and stuff. So we knew that the width was going to have to come from myself and Dan Lovitz, or whoever was playing the fullback position. So yeah, it was nice that first 30 minutes. I mean, all credit to our midfield and our front three, just working hard to win those second balls, win those first balls, and win those battles up top. That, because we're not doing that, and there's no chance that myself or Dan is getting up the field to be able to help the attack. So I think it was just really important, especially in those first 30. You saw us how we moving the ball, keeping possession in their third, and that lets those fullbacks push on and kind of get some joy down the flanks.
John Peña with a question for you, Abu.
Yeah. This question is for Abu Danladi. We saw in the minute 80, Nashville starting to pressure over Minnesota United. I saw the last games in that minute, 20 or 15 minutes before the game, and the opposite team do pressure. Today, I see Nashville take the initiative to do the pressure. What are you thinking about it, Danladi?
I mean, I feel like, it's our home, and for a home game, it's mostly known that the home team is the one that puts pressure. And I mean, when I came in, I tried to bring as much energy as I can, knowing the back line and how they play, and just trying to take advantage of like any errors they try to make, and that's like all about pressure. And I think for me, that's my part that I came in to do. And I think when you do that, the team buy into it. Everybody pushed, and everybody and 10 players, everybody was into it, and everybody moved the ball, and everybody out for second balls. And, the pressure was like something that we needed, and look, like we needed a goal. And that was what the pressure was for, to make sure we create a goal. And I think it was working well, and I feel like if we had a little bit more time, we would have scored.
Ben Wright with a question for you, Alistair. He's with the Broadway Sports.
Yeah, Alistair, this is a little bit similar to Tim's question a minute ago, but it felt especially in the first half and in the opening 30 minutes or so that you guys were able to create a lot of chances down the flanks. And then towards the halftime and coming out of the break, it felt like that just didn't happen as much. Do you feel like Minnesota made any specific adjustments, or do you feel like that was just more of the game calming down?
I mean, I wouldn't put it down to necessary specific adjustments, but I think, at the end of the day, that front three that they got that plays underneath the striker are some really nice players, and it's a really top level front three in the MLS. So I think these guys kind of make decisions on their own, and you could see it with drifting inside, and once Reynoso started getting on the ball, and Finley was using his pace in that final 15. So, I think when you just have smart players and good players like that, they're obviously going to come into their own. And we knew that was going to happen. We knew it wasn't going to just be a one-way street the entire game. So it was just a bummer that we couldn't capitalize in that first 30. I know everyone was we were trying to snag one pretty bad there early, but that's football. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily a specific adjustment. I just think when you got talented players, they're going to find a way.
Nayela Alamilla with El Jefe radio station with a question for you too.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, this is the first game that the fans are able to go inside of the stadium. I know it was only 10% capacity, but how did you guys feel having fans back in the stadium, hearing them? What was your feeling? This is a question for both of you. Thank you.
You can tell there's a difference between the people not being there and people being there. And even though the capacity was about 3,000, 3,500. Yeah, it was like, you can tell good presence, and at some point they started chanting, and I was like, wow, look, there you go. Yeah. So look like we have the same, we getting the fans back. And I think, even though sometimes it feels like we're not hearing them, we do, and it helps a lot. It helps a ton. And if you're an away team, it affects you in a lot of ways that a lot of people don't really comprehend. And I think it's very, very good to have the fans back, and gradually, hopefully, be able to get everybody get their full capacity and everybody ready to go.
Yeah, I got to give them credit too. For 3,500, it sounded like a lot more. I thought, once they got going, their chance, and once they kind of felt the momentum go in our favor, they were definitely on Minnesota's backs. And I think it's a little more personal. I think it's kind of fun when it's only that many, because you hear every single insult and every single comment a little more clearly. So I think it adds kind of more of a personal touch to the game. So for me, it was enjoyable. It would have been great if we could have scored one and celebrated with them. But there's more home games to come, and we'll be looking forward to doing that.